it's Vanessa from Crafty Gemini Creates, and today we're going to be working on this fun project for an infinity scarf, and we're using some stretch knit fabrics. Here I have some really gorgeous and bold prints. This is called Four Corners by Simple Simon & Company for Riley Blake Fabrics, and remember that we always include a link in the description box below on where you can find the materials and fabrics and things I'm using in the videos, okay? So it's a stretch knit. It's like a t-shirt type of fabric, but I really love the design and the prints on these. You can see the one that I'm wearing. You can make this really as thick or as thin as you want, as long. I make them pretty long. We're just going to use the width of the fabric here to keep it simple, and that's going to give you a length that's long enough for you to double it over like the one that I'm wearing here. So to get started, what I want you to do is fold up the fabric, and I have actually folded it in half twice, just so it's a little bit easier and more manageable to cut on my cutting table with a regular size 24. This is pretty like the longest type of rulers that you'll usually have on hand. Not most of us have longer than that. So just fold it up twice. This is a real simple beginner type of project. You don't really have to worry about precision here. We're not dealing with seam allowances, nothing crazy like that. If you've never tried your serger before, I'm sure a lot of you out there probably have a serger in a closet somewhere. This is the perfect project to take it out and give it a go on, okay? Because all we're going to be doing is using a basic 4-thread overlock stitch. And other than that, you really don't need to know how to do anything else. So let me show you. I've layered up my fabric here, and I'm just going to take a 12-inch long ruler, and we're going to cut out a big 12-inch strip. Okay? So if you're making it the same size that I am here, you'll be able to get 3 of these scarves out of 1 yard of fabric. So keep that in mind if you want to start making some for gifts. All right, so there's my 12 inches. Cut out my strip. Can put everything else aside. This is all you need to make one of these scarves. All right, so we're going to flip it so that the pretty side of the fabric is facing up. And I'm going to grab both short ends, which are your selvage edges, okay? And I'm going to bring them together. Now you can trim these down if you want to, but if you're going to be using the serger like I am here, the serger is going to trim this off. All you want to make sure is that you're feeding it far enough over so that the blade is catching all of that selvage edge. So notice, no pins, no clips, no nothing. Let's head over straight to the serger. Make sure that I'm feeding it far enough over so we're cutting off those selvages. And I have 4 threads here and just your basic 4-thread overlock. All you really need to know how to do is to thread your serger. So take out your user manual and then you'll be ready to make this. And I probably didn't cut off all the selvage, so let me show you how you can fix that. Notice here, I have some of the selvage gone and some of it not. And the reason for that is because I'm not really following a seam allowance. The selvage edges didn't really match up exactly, but I wanted to show you that so you can see how you can correct that because we're using a serger. So just do the seam again, bring that blade far enough over so now you're cutting off the previous seam. All right, so that's easy enough. I don't know why a lot of people are really scared of their sergers. Just jump in there. Don't worry about it. Just keep your fingers away from that blade. All right, so here we have our first seam. Now I'm going to flip it right side out. Okay? And you're actually going to fold it in half with the pretty sides facing out. These stretch knits, because this is a lightweight fabric for garments and things, if you've ever used it before, you may find that it rolls to the pretty side of the fabric or to the print side, and that's because they're pretty lightweight. If you tried to make this scarf with just one layer of the fabric, you're really going to have a lot of rolling and you'll be seeing a lot of that white of the back part. So that's why I recommend cutting out that 12-inch chunk so you can fold it in half and end up with a nice print on both sides of your scarf. You can put pins if you want to, but I like to just fold it in half. I'm going to start off at that seam back here, line them up, and I'm just going to feed it in little by little, but you can see how it's going to end up looking when we're done, okay? So let's head over back to the serger. We put our 2 seams together here. The ugly sides of the fabric should be touching, and you should see both pretty sides of your knit print. And then find yourself a guide on here. I generally will just follow the edge of the side of the machine here because I know the blade is just a little bit in from there. I'm going to lift up this presser foot just so I can tuck myself under there and do the exact same thing all the way in one full round. And we'll fast forward this so we don't bore you all. Another thing to note, when you're running it through the serger, don't stretch your fabric. All the stitches in the overlock stitch are going to be holding everything in place. It's not going to stretch it out or distort it for you, so you don't have to tug on it. If you do pull on your fabric while you're stitching it, like sometimes we do when we're sewing on a sewing machine, you're going to get ripples in your scarf. Now, if you want to go kind of for that lettuce type of look, then go ahead and do it the whole way, but just be consistent. All right, so we're coming up on the end here, and I'm going to show you how I finish it off. What I like to do is make sure everything is nice and smooth. Because the blade of the serger is going to continue cutting, you don't want to start cutting into your first part of your round of stitching. So I will keep an eye on where the blade is, and right when I overlap a little bit, I'll kind of scoot the fabric over to the left side and have the stitching carry over to overlap the stitching on the first stitches that I did of the round without it cutting, if that makes sense. Hopefully you'll be able to see the shot here, but let me do it now. So I'm moving it over just a hair. So now the blade is not cutting anything, but I'm still stitching. And I'll stitch a little bit of a ways. Okay? And then from here you can just stitch off. I tend to bring it across forward. I chain a long enough chain, then I bring it forward and I'll continue stitching, and then what I do is I kind of just swipe it in front of the blade, and that way it cuts the thread off for you. Okay? So your scarf is pretty much done. You're going to want to trim these threads right here. And there's different ways that you can finish off the threads. You can use some fray check on there. You can even go to your regular sewing machine and just do some zigzag stitches to further lock it in place. But I find that that just works fine for me to leave it like that. No big deal. Give it a good press, especially at the end there when you probably tend to stretch it a little bit out like I did. Just give it a good press with your iron. And if you have it stretching a little bit, it's not going to be a big deal, because that's why I start and stop at the back seam, because usually we'll line up that seam on the back side under your hair. And it'll be doubled up. So if you have any little snafus there, you won't really be able to see anything. So just give it a good press. Any other areas that you might need it, any creases or anything like that. All right. And your little knit infinity scarf is done. Just double it up and feel free to wear it with your next cute outfit. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video tutorial and that you will give it a try. Remember, there's always a link in the description box below where you can find the fabrics I used to make this project. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit it with the thumbs up below, share it across the different social media sites, and don't forget to click the subscribe button so you won't miss out on my future tutorials. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.